Hi everyone, I am Camille, Uplifter Head of Programs. Thank you for joining me tonight. Before we start with the topic of tonight's discussion and before I introduce you to our guest, let me just remind you very quickly that Uplifters is a non-profit organization empowering underprivileged communities with online education and peer support. We offer a free online money management course for domestic workers. If you're a domestic worker and if you want to enroll, you just need to click send message on our Facebook page to enroll. And I'm going to screen the Facebook page link just below. So tonight is the 14th episode of our Uplift Your Night series, and we're delighted to be here with you tonight. I can see that some people are already saying hi and connecting, which makes me very happy. So it's nice to see you over here. Please do not hesitate in the comment box to tell us where you're coming from and just say a little hi. So the very first objective with this Uplift Your Night Facebook Live is to be together. Uplifters is first and foremost a community, but we also want to keep learning together and supporting each other. So this is why we're having this Facebook Live series. I'm just going to have a very quick look. We have Hélène Mae already saying good evening. Good evening, Hélène Mae. Nice to see you here again. Good evening, Irene. And we're slowly going to get started. So I'm very happy to introduce the topic for tonight. COVID-19 vaccination. It's quite of a serious topic. So the situation now is that the vaccination campaigns have started in many countries. The past year has been very challenging to many of us, and we're all looking forward to the end of the pandemic for sure, or at least to a situation where things could start going back to normal. At the same time, for many, this is not an easy step to get vaccinated. It can sometimes lead to legitimate fears and concerns. We need to navigate our way through reliable information, but also fake news. So it's very important to be able to think by and for ourselves. And whatever one's final choice is, what really matters is to make an informed decision. And this is why we decided to have this episode organized for you tonight. So I'm going to screen below two links that we already posted on our social media to provide information to our community about the vaccination campaigns in both Hong Kong and Singapore. So do not hesitate to go to the post maybe after the show so you can get more information about what is the vaccination situation in the countries where you work. So tonight, to discuss this very interesting topic, we'll welcome Lukman Hakim Boti as our guest. And Lukman is a doctor from Indonesia. He's actually going to join in from Indonesia. So bear with us if we have some connection issues, but I'm sure everything's going to be working well. So Lukman is currently working as a case manager at a private hospital outside Jakarta. He's also part of the COVID-19 vaccination campaign at his hospital. And in the past, he worked with different organizations in Indonesia, in Pakistan, Jordan, Yemen, and South Sudan in Africa. So let's get started for good and welcome now Lukman. I'm going to invite Lukman to join us now. Good evening, Lukman.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
We can hear you very well and see you very well. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to our live broadcast.
It's good to be here. Yeah.
Thank you. Before we start with the first question, I'm just going to have a little look at who is here with us tonight. So we have Lori just here working now in Hong Kong. We have Indonesian ladies also, Maya Mandartika. And more people joining us. Nida Reyes just joined us. So I'm going to start with my very first question to you, Lukman, and maybe giving a little bit of a context. So it's been almost a year and a half now that this pandemic started. Could you give us an overview of where do we stand now and what is the situation worldwide and also in Southeast Asia?
Yeah, thank you. So, first of all, well, I hate to say this, but pandemic is not over yet. So, at first, experts thought that it's just another seasonal flu that is uh, will go by, will finish by the end of the season. But it's not. The pandemic is not over yet. There are still community transmissions in many parts of the world, including in Indonesia, my country. So community transmissions, meaning that infection is happening within the population that are not imported from outside the area. So worldwide, since mid of February, actually the number of confirmed cases is actually decreasing worldwide after reaching a peak at the end of December 2020. And then talking about Southeast Asia, it's quite a diverse region. Different countries have different approach against the pandemic. Indonesia has the largest confirmed cases in the region. We are now seeing a decline in number of confirmed cases on a weekly basis. Other countries have also sporadic cases and cluster cases. So, but based on WHO, the countries that still report having community transmissions are Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines.
Okay. Thank you, Lukman. It's very clear. So to summarize, the situation is still not far from being an ideal one. We can see a decline globally, but some countries are still very much affected, right?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I think there's a little bit of hope because in many countries the vaccination campaign started, right?
Yeah. Yes, yes.
And for us, it's been a little bit complicated for those who are not experts or doctors to understand what are the different vaccines that exist. And to start with, how do the COVID-19 vaccines actually work? Is there something that you could give us so we could have a better understanding of what's a vaccine working process?
Yeah, okay. Thank you. First of all, actually, the finding of COVID-19 vaccine is something that is remarkable because we started the first cases was on December 2019, but the year later, 2020, we were already starting to make vaccine. I mean, let's take Ebola, for example. It has existed since 1970s, but there's no vaccine up to now. So it's quite remarkable thing that we already have a few vaccines against COVID-19 the year after. So there are three types of COVID-19 vaccine. First of all, I'm going to try to explain with CoronaVac that is manufactured by Sinovac. It is like an old type vaccine because it is made of inactivated virus, the same as polio virus. So it's the same thing because polio virus is made of inactivated polio virus.
Okay.
And then the second is the second and the third are new type of vaccine. The second is mRNA vaccine, and then the third is viral vector vaccine. So for RNA vaccine, it is a type of vaccine that contains a synthetic version of a part of COVID-19. So synthetic version of a part of COVID-19 of the virus. Uh, so uh, it works by teaching our cells how to make copies of spike protein. So spike protein is kind of the spiky thing on the surface of coronavirus. That's why it's called corona crown, because it looks like the spike looks like crown.
Yes.
And then yes, and then the third is viral vector, which is also a new type of vaccine, because uh, this type of vaccine is using a harmless virus that is altered, that is changed, that is modified to contain a part of the COVID-19 genetic code. And then the same with RNA vaccine, it will teach our body how to make copies of the spike protein. So if someone is exposed to the real virus later, the body will recognize and then know how to fight it.
Okay, thank you, Lukman. It's very interesting. I think one thing that we should keep in mind, and I'm very grateful that you just reminded that to everybody, is that it's a very exceptional situation, and like the response has been like very quickly, and we should somehow be very grateful that we already have a vaccine to something that created such a mess and such a huge pandemic worldwide, right? Um, I think it's very interesting to understand the technical aspects of how vaccines work. For those who can choose their vaccine, do you think that there are criteria that are more important than others to consider when making their choices? So, just to give you a bit more information about our community of domestic workers, our students and team leaders are mainly based in Hong Kong and Singapore, where Sinovac, Pfizer, and Moderna are available. And I can see in the chat that we already have a couple of questions about how to best choose what vaccine to go with when you actually have the choice, which is a good thing, but can also create a little bit of anxiety when you don't know which one to go with. So I'm just going to very quickly screen some of the comments that we got, so you can see them like firsthand. So we have Ami Ramirez. She's saying, I'm about to be vaccinated this coming May 6th. So first, congratulations. I'm very happy to hear that in Singapore. And I heard that Pfizer is a good one. Is it true? And for the first dose, what really is the side effect? So that was one of the questions we wanted to discuss. And then we have Janet Rose Lisudo. For so many COVID vaccine coming out nowadays, which vaccine is safer to take? So yeah, again, it's very good to have choice, but sometimes it just makes the decision a little bit more complicated. Okay, so we'll start now. We'll start now, sorry, and look if you could help us kind of better understand what we should be looking at when making our choice.
Mhm. Okay, I'm going to try to answer the question. First of all, the Pfizer vaccine, how good is it, right?
Yeah, how
And
good is it?
then yeah,
What side effects could be expected
yeah,
following the
okay,
first dose? Yeah.
yeah. Uh, so Pfizer is making a new type of vaccine. It's RNA vaccine, and then the efficacy, how good it is, how effective it is, based on the research, based on the trials made prior to distributing the vaccine, is quite high. It's like 90% something.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's good. It's really promising, actually. It's promising.
Okay.
And then Moderna as well. It's the same. It is RNA vaccine as well.
Okay.
And yeah, the the leading expert in the United States said it is actually remarkable. It's actually better than Pfizer, but
Okay.
this is all based on the trial that was being done before putting out these vaccines. So it's not like a real life when countries are vaccinating their population, but it's based on the research. But
Okay.
Moderna, yeah, was said even better than Pfizer.
Okay. At the
Uh,
research stage, right?
yes. Mhm.
Okay.
And then CoronaVac or Sinovac, the efficacy actually lower than those two. The effectivity is actually lower than Pfizer and Moderna, but it is like it's the advantage is like that is like old type of vaccine. So for example, in third world country where having a cold chain, where having the right temperature to keep the vaccine really
Mm,
cold is difficult.
I
It's
get
easier to have CoronaVac, Sinovac, because
it.
it's more stable in room temperature instead of
Okay.
Pfizer and Moderna. Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so if I summarize what we just said, Moderna and Pfizer have like better performance when it comes to the efficacy of it. Sinovac has a little lower efficacy, but also has lower side effects, right? But one of the
Yeah,
very
yeah,
positive points with Sinovac is that the condition to store the vaccine are less constraining, so we can also use that in third world countries and developing countries where heat is at a high level, right?
yeah, yeah. Mhm, mhm.
All right, thanks a lot, Lukman, for that. It helps a lot. I'm just gonna go back to the comments and see if we have more questions. So we have people telling us that they got vaccinated already, which is a very good news. I do have one question here that I'm gonna screen for you to see, Lukman. Why some people are still tested positive even though they got vaccinated already?
Yes, that is a very excellent questions. So people that are being vaccinated, as I mentioned earlier, uh, whether you are receiving the inactivated virus like Sinovac or you're receiving RNA vaccine, all of these vaccine will teach your body how to make copies of the spike protein, will teach your body how to fight if you are exposed to the real virus later. So
Okay.
the body will easily recognize and know how to fight it off. But it doesn't mean that people that are being vaccinated are like bulletproof.
Mm,
Yeah, people are still people can still uh, get sick from the COVID-19.
yeah.
People, yeah, but
Depending on
because
how efficient it is, right? Because it's not
yes,
100% efficacy. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
May I add something?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead,
Yeah,
please.
yeah. But if you are already vaccinated, if someone is already vaccinated and then somehow was infected with COVID-19, the body will easily recognize the virus and will like easily fight the virus. So it's not you're not starting from zero. Your body will
Oh,
not start to. Yeah.
okay. I get it. Thank you. Thanks a lot. We have another interesting question. So we have some people telling us that they got vaccinated, which is a very good news. Thank you for letting us know. Um, May Carolino is saying that the vaccine efficacy is only 4 months. So what do we do after that? So it's true that we've been reading more and more articles in the media saying that, especially for Pfizer, for instance, we might be having to do another dose in a couple of months after that. So do you have any update on that? Is that still under research, or do we know for sure they will have to get another injection? And if so, how long after we got the two first doses?
Mhm. So the virus, sorry, so the vaccine, they will not provide like uh, long time protection against COVID-19. So that's
Okay.
why we will need another booster after a few months, depending
Mm-hmm.
on the type of vaccine. But the idea to vaccinate uh, the majority of the population in the such short time to is to prevent the virus from getting any space, any people to infect to.
Mm.
So, for example, person A is being vaccinated, and then sorry, person A is infected with
Yeah,
COVID-19, but B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J are vaccinated. So that's why A needs to go farther away to infect another one.
I see.
So
Yeah.
it will slower the progression of the virus as well.
Yeah, I think it's a very important point what you're saying just now, Lukman, like that the way we should look at the vaccination is really to protect ourselves, but also to protect others. So there are actually two reasons why we might want to
Yeah.
go for vaccination. Yeah, I think it's an important point
Mm.
to remind everyone of. Thank you for that. So we have another one of MB Palad saying that she has a history with hypertension, but she didn't take any medication for that. So is it safe to get vaccinated in that situation?
So if already have hypertension or other types of disease, if you already have pre-existing condition, not only
Mhm.
hypertension but also diabetes probably, uh, uh, you are able to get the vaccine as long as the conditions are under control. So if you have hypertension, make sure it's under control. If you have diabetes, make sure your blood glucose level is under control. Otherwise, the vaccination should be postponed first.
Okay, so it's not that much about having those preconditions, but like the situation will be at the moment we'll receive the injection, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thanks for that. I'm just gonna keep going with the questions if you don't mind,
Yeah.
Lukman, because they have a lot of questions, and I feel the most important is making sure that we both try to answer the questions. So another one is about Maya, who has as a baby never got vaccinated, and so she's concerned about the effect that getting vaccinated for the first time could have on her, and she feels a little bit nervous about that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for the question. Well, we have to keep in mind that these vaccines are basically alien substance that is administered into our body. So side effects might probably happen.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but if you have, well, it's difficult, yeah, because different pharmaceutical companies have different way of making not only vaccine but also drugs. Uh, so about the effect, yeah, it might cause effect. Well, for instance, when I was vaccinated in February, I received CoronaVac by Sinovac, and then afterwards, I felt very, very drowsy. My colleague, at least two of them developed rash after a
Oh,
day. So the next day they developed rash, and then like two or three felt like feverish, uh, and then some of them felt nausea, and then of course like many people complain of uh, pain in the site of the injection, but up to now I have never received any any report from uh, from my colleague, from all the staff in my hospital that are being vaccinated against COVID-19. I have never received any report of like really heavy side effects.
hmm. Yeah, this is my understanding as well. It really depends on people, and you cannot really plan or expect side effects depending on how good your health condition is. Like I know
Hmm.
some people who had very good health condition and were fit and healthy and got extremely sick with Pfizer second injection, and some people who just got a little drowsy. So I think, as you said, it might happen, but it's also part of the process. It
Yeah,
also indicates that the vaccine is actually
it's
working.
working. Yeah,
But for sure, like it might be happening. And now the question about like whether the side effects might be stronger if the person has not been vaccinated ever before, it might not be correlated, right? There is not a link.
no,
We
there's
don't
no,
know if
there's
we don't know.
hmm
Yeah.
hmm
Okay, thanks a lot. So I'll keep showing the comments. More ladies telling us that they got vaccinated. From Singapore, Lani got her first Moderna vaccine April 21. Pfizer for Mitch. So we see, like as we said at the very beginning, three different types of vaccine, and in the two countries that we're mostly speaking about tonight, three different vaccines, and it looks like many of you already got a shot of Moderna or Pfizer. We have a question here that is an important one. I have a question. What should we do first before we take a COVID vaccination? Is there anything that we should do or not do before going? Do we need to avoid something to eat, for instance? And I'll just develop a little bit on that question because I've been asked that already by some of my domestic workers friends. Also afterwards, is there anything that we should be avoiding once we received the injection?
No, there's nothing. There's you. No, the answer is no. There's nothing to avoid to eat before and afterwards. But with well, I'm going to give example with CoronaVac. Like we have the screening before the vaccination. We were screened our temperature first, and then our blood pressure. If they are reading high, then the vaccination must be postponed. This is before getting into the like screening by question, like are you having flu this week? Do you have hypertension? Do you have diabetes? Before those questions, we are being our temperature are being taken, and then our blood pressure as well. And if they are high, the vaccination must be postponed. But
Okay.
nothing to avoid before or after the vaccination.
Okay, excellent. And so it means you can eat properly, you can drink properly.
Yeah,
If you feel tired, it's usually good to drink a lot of water.
yeah.
So yeah, just keep hydrating yourself and keep feeding yourself for sure. Um, we have another question here. I hope I understand the question well. So my brother had positive of the COVID according to the result of his test. So they quarantined him for 14 days. But according to him, he don't have symptoms of the virus until he go home and test negative. So I think the question, Lukman, is about sometimes you can be tested positive and not developing no symptoms. Is there something that you can maybe elaborate a little bit on?
Yes, yes, that is very possible that someone is tested positive against COVID-19 with no symptoms at all. Why? It's because the body is like subclinical infection, so uh, the response to the virus is very low, very limited. That's why there's no complaints, there's no symptoms. Uh, but still, uh, because the test was positive, it means the virus did enter the body. So
Hmm.
was this person had COVID-19 even though there's no symptoms. And
Yes.
then also, as I said, the the virus probably might be just like located uh, in the respiratory tract, so did not go into the whole body. So it's like just locally in the respiratory tract.
Okay, thank you. So you can test positive and not have any symptoms and still be contagious and contaminate
Yes,
others, right?
yes, that is the problem because uh, this person may not know that he or she has the virus. That's why it's dangerous because he can still infect other people.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Hence the quarantine, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We have Lei Tadena just saying she had her Pfizer vaccine yesterday and doesn't feel so great today. So we just want to send you strength. It will pass in a few hours or maybe a few days. So keep strong. It will end soon. And congratulations for the vaccine. Um, we have Shane who said that she got fever, headache, or rashes, or become drowsy. No, she didn't get that, but in
If,
case you're getting that, what kind of medicine should you recommend to take if we start feeling very sick? Is there a medicine that we should
mhm.
take?
Well, I guess there are medicine that you can take over the counter, like paracetamol or ibuprofen.
Yes.
And then in my case, when I became drowsy after the vaccination, I just took some coffee because I was still working at that time.
Okay. Okay, so in my case, as soon as I started feeling a little drowsy and having this muscle pain, I went with Panadol, and it
Yeah.
actually helped a lot. So I would really
Mhm.
recommend, of course, like reading the instructions very well and just like taking exactly the amount that you need. But don't, if you start feeling sick, it's probably the side effect of the vaccine, and
Yeah.
especially if you have to walk, do not
Yeah.
hesitate to take Panadol so you feel better.
Yes. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. It was very interesting questions. Thank you everyone for asking these questions. They were actually those that we had in mind, so it gave us the opportunity to
Mhm.
kind of um, go through what we had prepared. A question that is not necessarily a medical one, but an important one still. Is the vaccine compulsory? Like, do we have to go and get vaccinated? And something a bit more specific. Can a domestic worker be told to get the vaccination as part of her job? Um, so I know that there are some countries where people have to get vaccinated independently of the job that they do, of course. But some countries, and that's the case with Hong Kong and Singapore and Dubai, you do have the choice, and no one can force you to go and get vaccinated, right?
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. So, well, in Italy, the healthcare worker is mandatory for healthcare worker to be vaccinated actually in Italy.
Mhm.
And then in Spain, there are several regions that the government wants to impose compulsory vaccination. In India, in Indonesia, we there's a it came up in the news a few months ago, I guess, that it is compulsory for Indonesian to get vaccinated, but
Okay.
I haven't seen like what's because I heard people will be fined if they refuse vaccination, but this is my this is what I have in mind, but I think the government is too busy and don't have these resources to chase after people who refuse vaccination. But so the case in Indonesia, we first vaccinated the healthcare workers, the frontline workers, and then because the government wants to go back to the previous uh, economic you know economic condition
Yeah.
pre pandemic. So that's why the people working for the government are vaccinated also. People that are working for the hospitality industry, for the tourism, are vaccinated as well.
Yes.
And then now at the moment we are currently vaccinating the elderly, so about 60 years old. And then there's I think in Jakarta that the provincial government that because they are trying to get younger people to get vaccinated, so the government in Jakarta said that if a if someone brings an elderly person to the vaccination center, that person will be able to get vaccination.
Mm.
So it's like so yeah. This is also what the WHO, World Health Organization, actually doesn't advise mandatory compulsory vaccination. So their advice, instead of compulsory vaccination, they advise to urge people, to
Mm.
encourage people, to persuade people, and that
Mm.
I think that's what the government in Jakarta is doing. So they it's like when someone brings an elderly to the vaccination center, that person will be able to get vaccinated. So it's like a bonus or
It's like
something
an
instead
incentive.
of
Yeah.
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 So yeah, so that's what yeah, the World Health Organization actually they are against mandatory compulsory vaccination, but but it is down to individual countries how they want to conduct their vaccination campaign.
Yes. I understand, and I think it's very important to keep in mind that the more people will get vaccinated, and the quicker we'll get back
Yeah,
to a normal situation because
yeah,
of the immunity happening in the population. But that being said, it remains the individual decision to decide whether or
yes,
not they want to be receiving COVID-19 vaccination. And in the situation of domestic workers, ideally, what you should be able to have is an open conversation with your employer, so you can understand each other concerns in the situation where you wouldn't have the same opinion on getting vaccinated. So it's very important as much as you can to open a dialogue and really
mm,
foster a conversation on this. I will just screen very quickly that if you have concerns about potentially being discriminated because of not going and get vaccinated, then you can have a look at this article. It's been written by the Equal Opportunity Commission in Hong Kong. So I think we're slowly coming to an end, and I wanted to just quickly ask you before we wrap up for good, Lukman, if there is any specific piece of advice that you wanted to share with our community, or concluding words, or like what would be the one thing that you'd like them to kind of remember or to take away with them?
Well, what you said earlier before that everyone should have a reliable information regarding the vaccine before you take the decision whether to receive or not to receive the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
You should have a reliable information and then open a dialogue so both parties know where they stand. And then the other thing is, like as I mentioned earlier, pandemic is not over yet, so uh, keep wearing masks when you're out. Wash your hands with soap, and then uh, with hand rub also. And then the last thing is keep your distance when you're out. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Lukman. It's a very good reminder. I think we still need to be very cautious and hope for the best. And maybe in a few months' time, we will start declining for good, including in countries where the situation is still very difficult. Hopefully. Thanks a lot. I think we're going to very soon end the broadcast. Something that we usually do at the end is sharing with the audience what made us happy today. This is actually an evening ritual that the domestic workers in our community used to do together to uplift themselves up a little bit. So I'm very happy to start. I think what I'm grateful with today is that when I came back home, I had my very dedicated domestic worker who had prepared a fantastic dinner for me. And I was extremely grateful because not only it was good, but it saves me a lot of time. And I had the opportunity to spend more time with my kids. The second thing is I'm very grateful for you, Lukman, to joining us because it was a little bit last minute. And I think it's a very important topic, and I'm very happy that we had a chance to clarify some of the concerns that some of our community members had. And I'm also grateful to be living in the place I live now at the moment because the vaccination campaign started, and also because the population is respecting the social distancing measure very well, and so the situation is safe. And sometimes it's difficult to be living with all these restrictions, but I think we should also be grateful to be safe. Would you be happy to go next? If you have 1, 2, or 3 to share with us about something that made you happy today, or in general?
Well, yeah. In general, well, I'm happy for my wife for keeping the house intact while I'm at work. I'm happy for my children; they are just adorable, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak here tonight because I mean we are all in this together, so it's my part.
Yeah, thank you. That's a very nice concluding word. We're all in this together. So I'm going to now end the broadcast. Thank you again, Lukman. Stay safe, everyone. As Lukman advised, keep wearing your mask. And we hope that those who want to be vaccinated will be able to do it soon.
Yeah.
And take care, everyone. Have a very nice evening. Thank you, Lukman, again. Bye.
Bye.